All right, so you have this assignment. Sorry, let me get my camera lined up better. There you go. This is how to find derivatives using tables. So the numbers are all here already. It's just a matter of kind of working with the numbers and understanding what the table is saying. So first, on your notes, I want you guys to fix this. Write this as a 2 instead. And then we're going to go ahead and work our way through all of these problems. So first, when it says d dx, they're just saying find the derivative of this. So if I have the derivative of 2 times something, that using the constant multiple rule, so the fact that I have a coefficient, I would say that that derivative is 2 times f prime of x. So now I can go ahead and evaluate that derivative at 2. So 2 times f prime of 2 is going to be 2 times f prime of 2 is 1/4, or 0.25. So 2 times 1/4 is 1/2. All right. The derivative of one function plus another function is just f prime of x plus g prime of x. So this is like, basically what we're using is like properties of derivatives. If you're taking the derivative of the sum of 2 functions, it's just the sum of each derivative. So we're going to find those derivatives and then add them together. So I'm evaluating these derivatives, of course I'm using a pen, where x equals 3. So f prime of 3 is e. G prime of 3 is 6. So my answer is just e plus 6. Those are not like terms, so I can't add them together. All right, this next one is f of x times g of x, so that's the product rule. So I'm going to say the first times the derivative of the second plus the second times the derivative of the first. And so that's f of 3 times g prime of 3 plus g of 3 times f prime of 3. And f of 3 is -3. G prime of 3 is 6. G of 3 is 1. And f prime of 3 is e. So the derivative evaluated at 3 would be -18 plus e. Number 4 is just using the quotient rule. So we have low d high minus high d low divided by low squared. So that's going to be g of 2 times f prime of 2 minus f of 2 times g prime of 2 divided by g of 2 squared. So g of 2, if I use my table, g of 2 is 2, f prime of 2 is 1/4, f of 2 is 18, g prime of 2 is -1, and then g of 2 is 2 squared. Okay. So I have 2 times 1/4 is 1/2 plus 18 divided by 2 squared is 4. So 18.5 divided by 4. 18.5 I could rewrite. 18 times 2 is 36. 36 plus 1 is 37 over 2. Okay, so 37 over 2 divided by 4. That's 37 over 2 times 1/4. So that's 37 over 8. That was a good review of fractions right there. So when I combined 1/2 and 18, I just said that was 18½. To take a mixed number and write it as an improper fraction, you do 18 times 2, so the whole number times the denominator, that's 36. 36 plus 1, so 37 over 2. What I did here is I kept this 37 over 2 and I changed it to a multiplication problem and I flipped the denominator 1/4. So 37/8 is what we had there. All right. After that, they start to get more difficult. So 5, 6, 7, and 8 are all using the chain rule. So with this one, we have to do the derivative of the outside. So that's going to be f prime. And we keep the inside the same, times the derivative of the inside. All right, so this is me doing the derivative of the outside, keep the inside the same, times the derivative of the inside. So I have f prime of g of 2 times g prime of 2. So g of 2 is 2. So this is f prime of 2 times g prime of 2 is -1. So f prime of 2 is 1/4. So I've got 1/4 times -1, and that equals -1/4. Okay. For number 6, I'm taking the derivative, and I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this. This is f of x to the 1/2. Okay, so it's a chain rule again. So for the derivative, I'm going to take the 1/2 and I'm going to drop it to the front, and the inside stays the same. 1/2 minus 1 is -1/2 times the derivative of the inside. Right? So I'm going to go ahead and simplify that. On the top of the fraction, that's f prime of x. On the bottom of the fraction, I have a 2, and I have a square root of f of x. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and plug the numbers in now. I have f prime of 2 divided by 2 times the square root of f of 2. So f prime of 2 is 1/4 divided by 2 square root f of 2 is 18. Okay, so I need to rewrite this. 1/4, if I think of that, that would really be a 1 on the top and a 4 on the bottom. So I have 1 on the top, 4 times 2 is 8, square root 18. And the square root of 18 you can simplify. The square root of 18 is 3 square roots of 2. So I have 8 times 3 square roots of 2. And that's 1 over 24 square root 2. You could rationalize that as well. Get the square root of 2 off the bottom, so you could call that'd be root 2 over 48. That'd be another good answer. Okay, this one is also a chain rule. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite this problem, and I'm going to call this g of x to the -1 so that I don't have to use the quotient rule with it. So when I do the derivative, that's going to be -1 times g of x to the -2. And then so I kept the inside the same, and now I'm going to multiply by the derivative of the inside. So that's g prime of x. So if I rewrite this to fix it, I'm going to have a negative and a g prime of x on the top. And then on the bottom, I have g of x is being squared. So now I can go ahead and plug the 2 in. So I have negative g prime of 2 divided by g of 2 squared. And so that's going to be negative of -1 divided by g of 2 is 2 squared. So that is 1/4. All right, I've got one more problem. So this one looks a little bit more like a classic chain rule problem. So here, they wrote the notation a little bit differently. They said h of x equals this, then find h prime of 2. So h prime of x, if I write my notation, is going to be using the chain rule. So I'm going to take the 3, move it to the front. Take the exponent, drop it by 1. And now I'm going to multiply by the derivative of the inside, which is f prime of x. And I'll go ahead and rewrite the problem so that I have a 2 in there. I'm evaluating it for 2. Okay, so I have 3 times f of 2, that's 18 squared. F prime of 2 is 1/4. 18 squared is 324. If it makes you feel better, I did not know that. I had to like multiply 18 times 18. Wasn't memorized. 324 times 1/4. And then 3 multiplied by 324 is 972 times 1/4. Again, no, I did not have that memorized. I did the multiplication on my notes. And then 172 divided by 4 is actually 243. Again, no, I did not have that memorized. I did long division on my notes because I didn't want to use a calculator. All right, so that's how you find derivatives using tables. And we will do some more practice of that tomorrow.